A 130-pound Rottweiler was found standing alone in the middle of a road at midnight, dragging a chain behind him that weighed nearly as much as most dogs. When the woman who stopped her car had him scanned for a chip, what she discovered changed everything. And what she did next started a 4-month legal battle that nobody expected her to win. There are dogs that live in homes, and then there are dogs that simply survive them. Rott was the second kind. He was a Rottweiler, 130 pounds of muscle and old scars, with a coat so black it swallowed what little light came through the broken boards nailed over the windows of the house where he was kept. He had a yard, technically, a strip of dirt about 12 feet wide, bordered on one side by a rusted chain-link fence and on the other by a crumbling concrete wall. A water bowl that was empty more often than it was full, a food dish that arrived when someone remembered. Most days, nobody remembered. His chain was thick and heavy, the kind used to tow cars, not to tether a dog. It was attached to a post sunk into the center of that yard, and Rott had worn a perfect circle in the dirt around it, round and round, day after day, week after week. His paws knew that circle the way your hand knows the inside of a pocket. He didn't bark much anymore. He had learned early on that barking didn't bring food, didn't bring water, didn't bring anything except sometimes a door slamming, a voice raised in irritation, and the kind of silence that falls heavier than noise. So he stopped. He just walked his circle and waited. Nobody who walked past that house looked twice. The neighborhood had learned not to. The man who owned Rott had owned other dogs before. Nobody asked what had happened to them. But one Tuesday night in late October, something shifted. It was just past 11 p.m. The wind was cold in the way that October winds are. Not quite winter, but close enough to mean it. Rott had been lying in the dirt for hours when he noticed something. The post wasn't right. Whether it was the cold contracting the metal or years of pressure from that heavy chain slowly working the concrete loose, it didn't matter. What mattered was that when Rott stood and pulled, the post moved. He pulled again. It moved more. He pulled a third time with everything he had, and the post came up out of the ground. He didn't run. He walked, slowly, dragging 6 feet of chain behind him. He pushed through the gap in the fence he had been staring at for years, a gap that had always been just slightly too narrow. But the post gave him leverage, the fence gave, and Rott walked out into the street like a man leaving a building he never wanted to enter. He had no idea where he was going. He just knew where he wasn't. Margaret Chen was driving home from a late shift at the hospital when she saw him. He was in the middle of the road, not running, not panicking, just standing there in the yellow wash of her headlights, the chain trailing behind him in the street, his head low and his eyes catching the light in a way that made her stomach drop. She stopped the car. Most people, she would later say, probably would have driven around him. She understood why. 130 pounds of Rottweiler, loose at midnight, with a length of chain attached to him, it didn't look like a rescue situation. It looked like a warning. But Margaret had spent 15 years as a veterinary technician, and she knew the difference between a dog that was dangerous and a dog that was done. I see you still haven't subscribed. Honestly, that breaks my heart. Stories like this one are exactly why this channel exists. Hit subscribe now. It costs you nothing. She got out of the car. She crouched down in the headlights, 40 feet from a 130-pound dog she had never met, and she waited. Rott looked at her for a long time. Then he took one step forward, then another. He walked to her slowly, not with aggression, not with fear, and he lowered his head into her hands and stayed there. She could feel every rib through his coat. She could feel the old wounds on his shoulders where the chain had rubbed. She could feel him shaking, very slightly, in the cold. He's been waiting for this, she thought, for a long time. She loaded him into her SUV, chain and all, and drove straight to the 24-hour animal clinic where she worked. The vet on duty that night was a quiet, methodical man named Dr. Reyes, who had been practicing for 22 years and who had seen a great deal. He scanned Rott for a microchip within the first 5 minutes. There was one. The name on the record was a man who lived 4 blocks away. The address matched a property with 2 prior complaints filed with animal control, one for noise, one for neglect, both closed without resolution. Dr. Reyes looked at Rott, at the ribs, at the scarring along his neck and chest, at the raw patches on his paws from years of walking concrete and hard earth, and then he looked at Margaret. "He's not going back," she said. "No," said Dr. Reyes, "he's not." What followed took 4 months. Margaret contacted an animal welfare attorney the next morning. The microchip gave them a legal owner of record, which meant Rott couldn't simply be rehomed without a fight. His owner, when contacted, demanded the dog's return. The attorney filed for a protective order and an emergency cruelty petition. The medical records from that night became the foundation of the case. Malnutrition, untreated wounds, evidence of prolonged restraint under inhumane conditions. Animal control finally conducted a formal inspection of the property. What they found there supported everything Dr. Reyes had documented. The case went before a judge in February. The judge ruled in Margaret's favor. Rott, still wearing a collar tag that read the same name he'd always had because Margaret decided he had earned it, came to live in a house with a real yard, not 12 feet of packed dirt, a yard with grass and a dog bed on the porch, and a woman who came home every evening and sat with him until the stars came out. He still circles sometimes. Old habits live in the body longer than the mind, but the circles are getting smaller. And sometimes, in the middle of one, he stops, looks around at the grass and the quiet and the open gate he could walk through any time he wanted, and lies down. Some stories don't begin with a rescue. They begin with a dog who decided one cold October night that enough was enough. If Rott's story reminded you that every animal deserves a life worth living, share this with someone who needs to hear it today. Is what Margaret did an act of love or an act of justice? Or are those the same thing? Tell me in the comments.